A warm welcome to Ann Coulter, the syndicated columnist and a great column this week, and best-selling author most recently of In Trump We Trust, E Pluribus Awesome, and the upcoming Resistance is Futile, or Futile if you prefer, how the Trump-hating left lost its collective mind. Didn't they do that a long time ago, Ann?
Yes, but it's just getting worse, Lars.
Well, and how much worse can it get than Democrats who are now out saying, we are upset when we see illegal aliens separated from their illegal alien parents when they cross illegally into America, even though a lot of Americans who are arrested for crimes are separated from their children either temporarily or permanently. It's the same thing that happens every night, but apparently it's an outrage when it happens to somebody who invades our country illegally.
Yes, and a lot of Americans, about 50,000, have been permanently separated from their children when illegal aliens killed them. Not including all of the heroin deaths, incidentally. That's running about 50,000 a year. But those children, the left absolutely doesn't care about. No, all of these asylum cases, as you know from reading Adios America, they are 100% frauds, either frauds that have already been proved or frauds that haven't been proved yet. We usually find out, as I described in my column this week, from Adios America, although some cases I think may not have been from the book. Whenever these asylees make the news, that's the only time their stories ever get checked out, and every single time turns out to be a total fraud. The maid who accused, I forget what his name was, Strauss-Kahn, the head of the IMF bank, of raping her at the Sofitel Hotel in New York, Amadou Diallo, shot by police officers in New York, a Rwandan who claimed that she was a victim of the Rwandan massacre. Federal prosecutors, she testified in an international tribunal, getting herself in the news. Turns out she not only wasn't a victim of the Rwandan genocide, she was a perpetrator of it, sending thousands of women and children to their deaths. But no, she got asylum here. All of these people got asylum based on completely apocryphal stories. The Rwandan got both asylum and citizenship. The great advantage of showing up and announcing that you're seeking asylum is that you instantly get all kinds of goodies from the government. You're entitled to everything: Medicare, Medicaid, housing. Yeah. So please, let us help you. Let's help you. I mean, the problem is Americans are very generous and kind-hearted people, but we've been taken advantage of for decades now. And the absolute worst abusers are the asylum cases. Liberals figured out this is how we can totally wreck America. We can get anybody in. It's well known, and also described in Adios America and in my book this week, in publications not known as right-wing hate sites. The New Yorker and the New York Times have described these script-writing outfits. Both recent asylum seekers, foreigners themselves, and just left-wing lawyers, left-wing agitation groups. They coach the illegal alien on what they need to say, what country to claim to be from, what persecution you claim to have suffered. There was one quoted in the New York Times who applied for asylum, saying she was being persecuted in Russia because she was gay. But then, laughed to her immigration lawyer, saying, "I'm not gay. I don't even like gays." Direct quote in the New York Times. This is your run-of-the-mill humanitarian case. It is the main avenue by which the left is transforming our country into a third world hellhole. What we're seeing at the border right now is an absolute express, well-publicized political stunt by a group called Pueblos Sin Fronteras, People Without Borders. It is their political position, their ideological objective, that the United States should not have a border. And so they show up and demand asylum.
And Ann, let me ask you this. People may not know you're a lawyer, but as a lawyer, what kind of standard could you have for asylum if all you're going to do is listen to what the person says and probably give them the benefit of the doubt and say, oh, so you say you're from here or there and these things happen to you? You can't really demand much proof, or every single asylum case would be rejected, wouldn't it?
To the contrary, what's happening is every asylum case is being accepted.
Right.
And yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we need to shut it down for a while. America has taken more refugees and asylum applicants than the rest of the world combined for the past few decades. How about Mexico take a few? How about Germany and Canada? How about Japan? How about they take some? Nope, Japan actually cares about its own country and cares about its own people. They take none. I think they took their first refugee in 40 years last year. Thanks, that was great. But they're all fraudulent cases, and asylum in particular, to request asylum, you have to show up at the border, at a port of entry, and say, here I am, I want asylum. Oh, by the way, that's how the mastermind of the first World Trade Center bombing got in, even though he was traveling with a man who had bomb manuals, videos of car bombings, and written out instructions on how to lie to immigration officials. But Ramzi Youssef claimed asylum, so okay, go about your business. And he did. He went about planning the bombing of the First World Trade Center. This is how asylum cases work in the ordinary case, not when you have political zealots who want to destroy the United States as their own, as their clearly stated mission, marching Central Americans. For a month this has been going on. We've seen this coming for a month now, marching them up to our border and announcing, I want asylum. There was one in the Daily Mail, I guess it was today, maybe yesterday, one particular photo. It has become, the iconic photo of the crying child next to her mother. It turns out the child has been separated from a parent by her mother. Her mother has 3 other children back in, I think it's Honduras. She has a husband with a good job. He's been interviewed by the Daily Mail, said she just up and left, didn't even tell him, allow him to say goodbye to his little baby daughter. He was so happy to see the photo in the news, to see that his daughter was okay. Marched this little girl through Mexico just because, she wants to get on the American gravy train. Sorry about your Social Security and Medicare, Americans. I mean, if we have no borders, why should we pay taxes? We're paying taxes to support ourselves, our fellow Americans, our Americans who are poor or elderly or sick. But no, the left wants to throw it open and destroy the greatest country in the history of the world. That's what's going on at the border.
Well, Ann, I have a simple suggestion. Right now, I know that if you get deported, and then you say, but I really want to apply to come in legally, my understanding is you're put off for at least 5 or 10 years. You're told because you entered illegally, because we deported you, you're disqualified for a period of time. If we want to get people to the ports of entry and do it the legitimate way, either the consulates in Mexico, the embassy in Mexico, or one of the legitimate entry points, say, if you come in any other way, you're disqualified. Now, Americans are used to that kind of limitation. There are lots of things that average American citizens have to put up with, and they say, and if you don't apply for it this way, there's a consequence to it. If we did that...
I guess, but I'm not interested in paying thousands upon thousands of federal officials to flip through these forms, again, looking at something they have no way of disproving. Oh, you were raped by government soldiers in some obscure Central African country. How are we going to disprove that? Excellent job crying. New Yorker and New York Times describe how these women go in and fake cry, and they claim to be from countries they're not even from, describe horrible rapes and so on and so forth. No, how about shutting it down?
Okay, I'm okay with that. Her newest book is Resistance is Futile, while the Trump-hating left has lost its collective mind. She's Ann Coulter, and I'm Lars Larson.